Hello, welcome back to Colonel O'Truth's Miniature Issues. In the last episode, I was sculpting the cliff face known as High Crag. Now I'm continuing with this work, and I'll be adding some details, a door in the cliff face and a statue. Here you can see the waterfall that I eventually ripped out and redid, and the rock formations that are taking shape. Now I'm sculpting a rocky shelf that I'm going to cut some steps into that will lead down to the door in the cliff face. I'm just cutting into foam here, creating rocky shapes. Obviously, I'm being careful with my knife, and you should too. I'm looking for an organic look for the rocks, while the steps should look handmade or carved. To accentuate the steps, I'm putting pavers in with a pencil. Now I'm adding this to the front face of the cliff. A couple of pins to hold it in place, and a good dollop of PVA glue. You can also see, in an attempt to rescue the waterfall, I've added even more white paint. It's all going horribly wrong at this stage. With the rocky shelf dried, I've sculpted it into place with some clay, and now I've decided to add a further shelf with the statue on it. A couple of matchsticks pushed into the cliff face will act as support for the cardboard shelf until I can sculpt it all in to look like rock. None of this is really following any set plan. I'm more or less making it up as I go. The intention is that the door I'm going to add into the cliff leads to these steps, which in turn lead to the sluice gate keeper's house. The sluice gate opens the waterfall cascades to the water wheel far below. By entering the door in the cliff face, you follow a series of passageways and stairs all the way down to the little door beside Crag House and the mill itself. Anyway, more PVA, more clay. This is Red Das air drying clay. I'm building it up a blob at a time, securing things with PVA, smoothing them out with the same, and checking the position of where the statue is going to be. Pretty happy so far. Undercrag City continues to grow. There are now numerous buildings, the city walls, the towers, the aqueduct, the tavern, the south gate with its dragon door, High Crag, the water wheel, and there's plenty more to come. In this series of videos, of which there are 30 now, I'm showing how I use simple techniques and simple materials to achieve everything you can see here. So please subscribe. I hope that you find something useful in here, and your support really keeps me motivated. I also like answering all of your questions, so keep them coming. Back to the model. This is a scrap of card from my favourite cat food boxes, and I'm designing the door. This is to be a heavy timber door in a stone frame leading into the cliff face. That circle stencil is invaluable. The scale of this model is far too small to use a pair of compasses. Tiny circles just don't work. Very carefully cutting the door out here, Not pressing too hard, you don't want to slip, and make sure your blade is sharp. Now another piece of card. I'm sticking this to some balsa wood. This will give the balsa wood strength. Quickly trim it off. And I'm hand drawing some timbers into it. I don't want these to be precise. PVA on the back of the door frame. Lay it over the balsa. Now some simple strips of card. I'm just going to build this up a little at a time to add depth and detail. I just want it to look solid. And more strips. This is just to give me something to sculpt the cliff face against. The door sits nicely inside and gives me the depth I'm looking for. As with the cliff itself, I'm not really following any kind of a plan. I'm just building this piece up a little at a time. Just scraps of card. Now a brown ink base coat onto the balsa. I'm not bothering with an undercoat. Making sure I get a good coverage. And then dry brush with a light yellow. Back to the cliff face. It's all been painted dark grey and I'm highlighting with light grey and then white. You've seen me do this before. I've also added dirty stains to the waterfall and it's just getting worse with every step. There's the statue, painted and highlighted in the same colours as the cliff. Back to the door. With the dry brushing dry, I'm adding more ink over the top. Now I'm going to paint in the stonework. This is just a background colour. Most of this is going to be sculpted over with clay. But it's worthwhile getting everything uniform now. Another ink wash on the door. I wasn't very happy with the finish as it was. Now some very thin card. And I'm adding some iron bands to it. Just putting those in place with my faithful pointy stick. Touch of silver paint. Touch of rust ink. Now a little bit of highlighting on the stonework. Now it's time to set it in. When I'm happy that it's sitting properly, it's time to build it up with more clay. So a couple of blobs behind the door, just to hold it in place, keep it all straight. And then I'm going to build up the cliff face. Here it's important that it doesn't look like a piece of cliff face conveniently shaped like the front of a door. It needs to look like the door was cut into the cliff. So I'm going to keep building and building until it looks the way I want it to. I'm pushing and blending with this brush. As you can see, it's a bit harsh. Brushes don't like this kind of treatment, but this will all clean up with water so long as I clean it straight away once I'm done. Every now and then I forget, and then it's time for a new brush. Again, little blobs, all just smoothed together with PVA. There it is, ready to be painted. And finally, after all that work, I've cut away a huge section of the cliff face. This is where the sluice gatekeeper's house will sit. I'll cover that in the next episode, but here's a sneak preview. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.